Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to Our Nerdiest Thing. Today, we are continuing our discussion of the third Crescent City book, House of Flame and Shadow. We'll be discussing chapters 78 through 89. Quick reminder, this podcast is spoiler heavy across not just House of Flame and Shadow, but all of Sarah J. Maas's Crescent City books and her other two series as well. So listen with care and
We're
delight.
going to talk about a bunch of shit, so
We
don't
really
get
are.
mad if we spoil it for you.
For realsies. For realsies. That was such a professional and adult thing to say.
We are professional and
I'm
adult
happy.
at all times.
I'm happy that I did it and not at all.
because our BDE episode was super professional and adult.
I'm not at all embarrassed by the fact that I just said for realsies. So, Deb, will you please save me and talk about our nerdiest cocktail for the week?
For realsies, I will. Tonight's drink is named Death Becomes Her, and it's themed after low-key kicking some ass. This drink pairs well with obliterating the undead, reanimating angel wings, and commanding an army of souls. But it may cause death, destruction, and chaos. Wah, wah. But seriously, it tastes like peanut butter and jelly, and it's so fucking good.
It's so good.
The recipe is on our Instagram page and on our website, ournerdiesthing.com.
I love the title of it too, Mindy. Golf claps for Mindy.
Did you know they're making a new Death Becomes Her? I'm really excited about
Okay,
it.
and funny story. After 3 days after I wrote my notes on my Facebook page, something comes up and it's like a artistic rendering of the famous shot of with the hole and and I'm like, really? Like who? It's Big
They're
Brother.
always listening,
They're
darling.
always there.
Always listening.
Always.
My favorite thing is always like, well, you know they're putting chips in us. And I'm like, no, honey, they know everything you're doing from your phone.
Right, they don't
Exactly.
have to put chips in
Right.
it.
There's a chip in your phone.
Right, yep.
Oh, that would just be unnecessary extra work for them.
Yeah.
Well, now it's time for our nerdy and dirty recap. And Mindy, the wheel has spoken.
It has.
Whose turn is it?
Well, it's not me this time, thank God. But it is Deb.
Ooh, I've not gone in a long
I
time.
know, it's been a while.
I'm excited
Well, Deb, you have 30 seconds to give us a recap of what happened in
to
this
not
section.
fuck this up.
Good luck. Are you ready?
I am.
Set and go.
Okay, the harpy tries to kill Bryce and Hunt, but Bryce puts on the mask and literally makes the harpy decompose. Hunt goes all ballistic on Celestina, but calms the fuck down so Bryce can open the rift to hell. Rune and Lidia go searching for her sons who have been kidnapped by Pollux. Bryce decides to use the mask to raise the fallen so they can possess the mech suits and kill the Asteri. Ethan and Hypaxia visit the Bone Quarter. Connor gives him a magic bullet full of second life light, and Hypaxia becomes the head of the House of Flame and Shadow. Bryce and co. record and release a video of her killing Micah. Everyone fucks. Sathia leaves Therian, and the Asterian Guard and the army of hell go to battle.
That was good.
That was a good one. I like everyone fucks.
They did.
You're not wrong.
Very excellent work, Deb. A lot happened.
Thank you. A lot happened.
I know.
That was hard.
I know.
It's a lot. Especially, you know, SJM, the end of her books. It's like, wait, what? It's like a million things per
Well,
page.
and I have a lot of questions because next week is our last week. So
Yeah.
now all these things are popping up,
Yep.
right? Like she does in the last 200 pages of her book.
Yep.
Always.
All these last minute conflicts and questions.
Good times.
Well, before we get into the nitty and gritty of this section, Mindy, will you please share our nerdiest vocabulary?
I will, for realsies.
I'm sorry I said it.
I love it. So this week, I decided to look into the names of Lydia's sons.
Oh.
And I found some interesting things. So Actaeon, or they call him Ace, but his full name is Actaeon. So in Greek mythology, this guy was a great hunter. Well, at least he thought he was. And
If you asked him.
if you ask
Like
him,
most overconfident men, I can hunt the shit out of this.
so the story goes that he stumbles upon Artemis, who is, among other things, the goddess of the hunt. And she was bathing, and he, quote, accidentally saw her naked.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah, right?
Oh, I accidentally touched your ass. Yeah.
So she changes him into a stag.
Oh.
And makes him become the hunted. So she lets loose 50 of her hounds that
Nice.
chase and kill him.
Oh.
But I thought,
Oh, dang.
Some feminist rage right there. I love it.
but just interesting that she turns him into a stag.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And then for Brann, which is such a weird name, but whatever. That's usually translated to crow or raven. And in Welsh mythology, this guy was a giant, like an actual he wasn't just tall, he was a giant.
For realsies.
For realsies. And he was king of Britain. So one story tells of him being asked by some other king that if he could marry his sister, and Brann says sure. But
if he could marry Brann's sister.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you meant like, can I marry my
own
sister?
No, sorry.
No.
Please, can I?
They're in Britain, not Kentucky.
Well, there is a lot of
if they were the
marriage
royals
amongst the families.
Yeah.
In the
absolutely.
line. Yeah.
So anyway, Brann says, sure, you can marry my sister. But a half-brother of his shows up and is pissed because he didn't get asked for her hand. So he throws a hissy fit and mutilates all of the other king's horses.
Oh.
And all their
that's
men?
what you do. And all their men. And then they couldn't put him back together again.
Man.
Brann is, of course, mortified, as one is. And as a peace offering, he gifts the king a magic cauldron that can bring the dead to life.
Ooh.
What? Right? Also, I think it should be noted that Brann, which is spelled with 2 N's, is very close to the name Brannon, as in a certain king of Terrasen. I don't know. Maybe could there be a throne of grass? Throne of grass.
I bet there is
connection.
a throne of grass.
There is a lot of Throne of Glass connections in this part of the book.
She said that she's not done with those characters yet. So
That's true.
I don't know. We'll see.
Isn't Brann also one of the characters in not Throne of Glass?
No, he's the asshole in
Game of Thrones.
Oh no!
Isn't one of the characters? I didn't watch Game
Isn't there
of Thrones.
one
I only watched as far as a horse's head getting cut off, which is like episode 3, and I was like, I can't do this.
Wasn't that the dickhead's name in? Not oh god, what's the second? Flames. Oh,
You're doing great.
I know. Words. This
Iron
is how I
Flame?
was with
Words,
Christina
people,
Lauren
time, nouns.
I don't know.
in the JLA books. The Shadow and the Ember. That series.
Oh,
And when
yeah.
he the asshole that like kills
The stepbrother?
no the guy the vampire that kills Melissa or Marissa or whatever.
No, that's Lord.
Mazine.
No.
But his first name's Brann. Because I remember having
Oh, it
this
is.
discussion.
Brandol.
Yes,
Brandol.
Brandol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brandol.
Brandol Mazine. Oh, man, we got there.
Yeah, eventually. I've had a cocktail and a half. And to be fair, this one's pretty alcoholic.
It's got some booze in
It's
it.
got some booze in it.
Well, thank you for that, our Nerdiest vocabulary. I like the cauldron.
I know.
It always surprises me when a cauldron pops up. I'm like, she knows what she's doing.
I know, she does.
Well, let's get into the details of this section with our favorite moment. Deb, what was your favorite moment?
Hunt finally gets rid of his douchey tribal tattoo.
Thank God.
I just, when I'm reading it though, I envision him looking all constipated and like grunting real hard. And then that dumb tribal art like fades away on his forehead. I've just always found the barbed wire to be super tacky, and I'm so relieved that it's gone. It's such a douchey. There was like so many things she could have just been a halo. Why did it have to be barbed wire?
Yeah,
Just
right.
because then I just think of like 90s no fear tattoos. And I'm like, he's supposed to be hot, and when he has that, I don't find him super hot.
I also love that he removed Isaiah's crown.
That was
I
pretty,
forgot about
that. was
that.
pretty
Yeah.
cool. I feel
No.
like it takes more power to remove somebody else's than yours.
I just thought it
own.
was sweet that he did that. He was like, all right, I'm not going to do this, and then I'm going to remove yours
Yeah,
too.
I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
That was
Good
a power-
job, Hunt.
That was a power move.
Bro moment.
Yeah.
Moment.
And he had the power within him all the time. He
just like
needed-
Dumbo, just like I said last week.
He
I was waiting for his
needed
Dumbo
to
moment.
really, rage out at
Yep.
Celestina. Celestina?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, Mindy, what was your favorite moment?
My favorite moment is when Ethan freezes the Underking, who's now realized as an ancient enemy, and then Hypaxia.
I know he's like, enemy.
and then Hypaxia just shatters him to pieces. It's pretty satisfying.
Yeah.
I loved it though when Jessica was like, you kill, you become.
I know.
It was like, you break, you buy, bitch.
Yeah. Like, I guess you're the new leader of the
Okay,
house.
darn.
Thanks so much. Thank you for your service. Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot too. That was my favorite moment, was that whole scene with the Underking, but mostly with Connor. I love Connor. He is the Sam of this
Sam!
He's the Sam of
Supernatural.
this series where, Sam Cortland from Throne of Glass, where you don't actually see him a whole lot, but he makes a very big impact on our main character and also on the reader. You just really love him, even though we hardly knew ye, but we love you anyway. So I thought it was super, super sweet where Connor told Ethan that he is proud of him. It's nothing but pride shown in his eyes after Ethan has been using that phrase, make your brother proud, to keep himself going for so long. That made me tear up a little bit. I know, it's really sweet. I loved the twist of the souls turning themselves into Second Light so that they can fuel this bullet to help Bryce defeat the Asteri. I loved seeing Ethan use his power to freeze the Under King, and then Hypaxia killing him. Although I will say that when Ethan uses his ice power, all I can picture is Arnold Schwarzenegger from that Batman movie.
It's Batman Returns, isn't
the
it?
Freeze or
Mr. Freeze,
Mr. Freeze or whatever. That's all I keep picturing. And it makes me laugh.
You can just do the constipated grunting that Hunt did instead.
It's time to freeze. So that scene also, I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit to my biggest revelation because it involves that scene and the Underking, and it's going to move into my deep dive for the week. So hold on to your butts, everybody. So
holding
the Underking, we had hypothesized earlier, a couple of sections ago, that maybe he was from hell because the Reapers are from hell and he's in charge of all of them. But the Underking lets us know he is not from hell like the original Reapers. He is from the same world that the Shifter Fae are from. We know that the Shifters are Fae based on the research that Danica has done. And the Underking says that he is from that original world of those Shifters and talks about how Erd was from that world as well and was originally Word.
W-Y-R-D.
Which tells me that he must be from Throne of Glass.
Yep.
So he also says that Word was a cauldron of life. So a question, is the cauldron from ACOTAR Word? Is that the same thing, or is it like an alternate version of the same thing, both existing at the same time in two different worlds? That's an interesting question. So that revelation took me into my deep dive, which was trying to look at Throne of Glass and try to figure out what manner of creature the Underking could possibly be. So first, quick reminder of what the Underking looks like. He is described as being 10 feet tall, adorning rich black velvet robes that drape to the ground, and shadows follow him wherever he goes. His face is said to be similar to a desiccated corpse, half rotted and crowned with gold and jewels. He has a lipless mouth with brown teeth and milky, lidless eyes.
So super handsome.
He's a real looker.
Last episode, we talked about Vecna. So
yeah, exactly.
There you go.
We've talked in previous episodes about how that is a similar, not exactly the same, but a very similar description to the Suriel that we see in the Court of Thorns and Roses world, and that maybe the Underking is a Suriel or related to the Suriel. The Underking says to Ethan that in his original world, which I'm going to call Throne of Glass, he was confined to caves and barrows, which made me think immediately of Heir of Fire when Rowan is training Selena and takes her to the barrows to fight barrow wights, and she accidentally encounters a Valg instead. So, by the way, that Valg, as I was researching the scene and looking things up on Reddit, which is a reliable source for all. The Valg that she comes across in that scene in Heir of Fire is suspiciously similar to Bryaxis and ACOTAR. Lots of darkness, lots of shadow overtaking you and makes you see your worst nightmares. Just going to throw that out there. She does see an actual person with a collar before the darkness and the nightmares, but a lot of people are like, that sounds familiar. And I thought that was an interesting point. But back to the Underking. So looking up the scene where Rowan takes Selena to the barrows. The barrows in this Heir of Fire scene this is chapter 13 from Heir of Fire. They are grassy mounds that hold tombs of lords and princes long dead. They all have a stone threshold and an iron door. The barrow wights are creatures that have infiltrated these barrows, and the iron doors are keeping them inside the tombs, ready to feed off of any thief dumb enough to try to steal the treasures inside. The book says that the wights have been there for eons, and Rowan says the barrow wights pretty much only come out at night and avoid the sun. So they are feeding off of living creatures, perhaps souls, ? They're being in the dark, being confined to barrows. Kind of sounds like the Underking.
Are barrows like tunnels?
They're mounds. They're
Okay.
like little hills. So these barrows are little hills that inside the little hills are graves, tombs of dead people.
Okay, but they're like really big hills then?
It doesn't, I mean, I guess
Which-
they're grassy mounds is all the book
I mean,
said.
if you think
I have
about
one of those.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
that would be the same then, because he looks over the dead, or he hangs out with the dead, basically.
And feeds off of life.
Yeah.
Feeds off of first and second light.
So Selena sort of encounters a Barrow-wight before the Valg, because once she sees the Valg, that is the focus of the chapter. We don't care about the Barrow-wights anymore after that. But before that happens, sorry, I just hit the table. She kind of knows that one is there, doesn't really see it, but can sense that there is one inside one of these tombs where the door is missing. So she describes it as an ageless, breathing blackness and a ripple of ravenous hunger encased in rags.
Interesting.
Which kind of sounds like the Suriel. That kind of sounds like the Underking, right?
When's all this shit going to come together? Come on, man.
Right? So those are the only descriptions that I could find. I have Throne of Glass in hardcover copy, so I'm not able to like search for words on my Kindle, but that was all I could find with the help of Google and Reddit. But it does fit the Underking. So based on the similarities between the Barrow-wights and the Underking, I feel comfortable saying that I think the Underking is a Barrow-wight. And given the similarities between the Underking and the Suriel, I think the Suriel is at least a relative of the Barrow-wight,
Barrow-wights.
or like a Barrow-wight in and of itself.
Interesting.
Just in a different world. So
I love that.
I
I
do
know,
too.
right? There's also a Suriel type description from Crown of Midnight. This isn't really a match, but I thought it was similar enough just to mention, since I think that the Underking and the Suriel are the same like manner of creature. So in Crown of Midnight, this is toward the end of the book, when Archer opens a portal and brings like a demon creature, Selena refers to it as a demon, but we don't officially know exactly what it is. That's just what she calls it. This is the scene where Kaol and Dorian find Selena in the like secret passageways in the castle, and Kaol follows the dog into the portal to save it from the demon, and then he finds out that Selena is actually Fae. Like that, it's like the end of the book. So Selena refers to this creature as a demon and says that it is a tall, sinewy thing, but definitely not human. Not with those unnaturally long fingers tipped with claws, white skin that looks like crumpled paper, a distended jaw that reveals fish-like teeth, and milky, tinged with blue eyes. So kind of similar to a
Right.
Suriel with the milky eyes, the gross face skin, the kind of looking like a corpse, humanoid, but not really. It's not an exact match because Suriel eyes don't have blue. They're just milky white. And the Underking's eyes are supposed to be milky
It
white
could
as
be
well.
like a half breed,
Yeah.
like a
So I thought that
a
was
younger
interesting.
one or something.
yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. And again, this is very much conjecture on the part of Whitney based on some brief descriptions.
No, I love that,
But
though.
it all fits.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So I personally think the Underking is a Barrow-wight from Throne of Glass. And I think the Suriel is too.
There's
And that's what I'm
too
gonna say.
many connections in Crescent City to Throne of Glass
To be
for-
nothing. Yeah.
For it to be
Those
nothing.
I've always thought that Throne of Glass has been set in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this world, and that people in Midgard are from the Throne of Glass worlds.
Yeah. Well, I think this discussion with the Underking says that's true because
Yeah.
he's from that world.
And their
So-
god is named Word.
That's what I'm saying.
Word.
Yeah. There's no,
Word
there's
to
no
your
way that that's a different world. That's not Throne of Glass.
I'd be
you know?
And
interested.
all the symbols. I'm so sorry,
ahead.
Mindy.
Go
All the
ahead.
symbols on the cauldron too are like word marks.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where I was kind of going to. First of all, I'd love to know if there were mists surrounding these barrows, and if
that's a good
that was
question.
like a thin place or whatever, because that was one of my questions. Like, is the Underking's throne, because it depicts Erd and it's got all those symbols on it. So is his throne a word gate?
Oh.
That was one of my questions
Yeah.
too.
Great question.
Yeah, which would make sense
I
also.
didn't even think about
but
that.
it would be
That's a great
super
question.
cool if there was a word gate like by the barrows, if there was mist there. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and he's got that temple to Erd, so even if the throne wasn't, there
The temple could be.
somewhere in the temple.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
One
great point.
question I did have about this Whitney, though, is even though he said he was from that world, did you notice that he said he was born in the void?
Yeah, I
His
did.
ancestors were from that world.
Yeah.
What's the void?
That is a question we had. I think it was either the last episode or the one before, where Adis was describing the thin places and the ley lines, and he talked about like it holds the void and everything, and we were like, what?
Right.
And nobody has I don't think anyone has explained what the void is.
Right.
I don't know what the void is.
Okay, I thought maybe I was missing something and I needed to be Whitneyed.
Well, I think we are missing something, but I think it's
we're all missing it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
okay.
it's purposeful. So maybe it's something that we'll read next section as we finish the book and be like, oh,
Or in 4 books from now.
yeah, or maybe never. Maybe it's just like, don't worry about it. It's the void.
The void's been
It's
brought
fine.
up too many times for that not to get
Yeah,
explained.
it's fine. Don't worry about it. So that's my favorite moment and my biggest revelation and my deep dive.
Damn.
So, thank you guys so much for letting me talk that much.
Way to knock all that out of the park.
TED Talk.
Yeah, thank you for my TED Talk. Let's go to least favorite moment or least favorite twist. What do you guys?
I have so many.
It was hard to narrow down.
It was.
I mean, I have one that it's the creme de la creme. It rose to the top. I very much disliked that Rune took away Lydia's choice to try to save her sons
Yeah,
by
me too.
shooting
That
her
was
in the
definitely mine,
fucking
too.
leg.
Yeah.
While I understand that he wanted to sacrifice himself in case the boys were like where they were being held was a trap.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how Lydia is going to be able to forgive him for this.
No.
I know I wouldn't be able to.
She said, "I will never forgive you."
Right.
For
She
this.
said, I will kill you. It felt selfish in a way because he wants to be her hero and is putting his feelings about what she needs first.
Yeah.
It really bothered me a lot.
Yeah, I think he in his brain. I want her to be alive. I want her
that's
to
for
live.
him.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
not for anyone else,
It's
it's for
very
him.
much him. Like you said, he is deciding for her.
Well,
which
Right.
is
Because
not
if her
okay.
boys die, she never got the chance to try. Like,
Right.
It's
She'll
one of those
blame
things
him
where,
forever.
like, if they die and she tried, then she tried. But
Right.
if they die and she's not there, that's going to be horrible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
I'm not above Sarah J. Maas to kill off some kids either. So,
I mean,
right.
yeah.
he definitely, it feels very, very selfish.
He does.
That was
so.
also one of my least favorite moments. That was probably my most least favorite moment. But I just hate that Pollux took her sons. Like, I still feel like, ugh, what a fucking asshole. And then I really, really, really hate the Viper Queen. So I hated when she showed back up too.
Yeah. I don't
I'm
like
done with her.
Yeah, I don't like her either. Yeah, I ended up picking for my least favorite moment. It's like not really a part of the book. Getting to the end of chapter 89, which was the last chapter that we read for this section, and realizing that that's where I had to stop. And I was like, this is a really tense cliffhanger moment, and I'm sorry. I was very upset with myself. Although, to be fair, like we mentioned earlier, Sarah J. Maas, her last 200, 300 pages, I mean, there's
There's
really
going to be a lot of cliffhangers.
Right. There's not
Yeah.
really a good place to stop, but I wrote in my notes, what a tease. So that was my least favorite
We've
moment.
always known that you're a tease.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I was a little upset
all
about
good.
that, but anyway. So I shared my biggest revelation with the Underking. What was yours? What
Mine
were yours?
was basically the same, but the biggest part of it for me was when that Jessica was the one that sets up Hypaxia to become the leader of the
Yeah.
Bone Quarter. I thought, again, classic Jessica, like
Yeah.
just comes out of nowhere and just does makes shit happen.
It surprised me though, because she's second in command
Well, she didn't
at the
want that
house.
shit.
Well, that's why I wonder why though.
She's happily where she is
I
because
guess
she can manipulate everybody and
Yeah.
keep them all being her puppets without having to take on all that responsibility.
It's like the heir and the spare.
Yes.
I guess she likes being the spare.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I love the idea of Bryce using the Fallen to expand her army against the Asteri.
I loved
Yeah.
that too.
She knows that the Asteri are just shitty enough not to give the creatures that they've tortured their sailings, right? So she uses that to her advantage and raises the dead with the mask from the Dread Trove. One piece of imagery I found really interesting in the book in this section is that there are so many demons in Hell's army that the span of the entire 24.5-mile gap of the rift is filled with them. Like, that is a shit ton of people.
Yeah.
And that's not all of them.
Right. Now, when we did the episodes last season around A Realm of Ash and Shadow by Laura Buckheit, we spoke about the different types of demons specifically to that book. But I wanted to find out what categories demons actually fall into. And we see the number 7 in this book often. And ironically enough, there's 7 categories that fit into the demons. Okay. So the first ones are called fiends. These are the typical demons who battle the heroes of stories and thrive off of temptations and betrayal. Next, we have the succubi and the incubi, which are often they come under the guise of seduction and feed off of sexual acts. Ooh la la. Third, we have the shadow creatures, which frankly, shadow children demon are probably the scariest things I can think of.
No, thank you.
Like when they come up in video games and scary movies, I'm like, not creepy children. Stop it.
Yeah.
So these types of demons can shapeshift into something familiar to you and cause nightmares and phobias.
No, thank you.
No. Number 5, hellhounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people are familiar with Cerberus, the 3-headed dog that guards hell, but other hellhounds is hard to say. Hellhounds is hard to say after a couple cocktails.
It is.
Other hellhounds are trackers who track down the enemies of their masters, which we see that a lot in Supernatural. Number 6 is a demon type that I've never heard of called a Pisasha. These demons are the ones with distorted faces that feast on human flesh.
Ew.
Yummy.
Ew.
Next to last, we have revenants. Revenants are restless spirits who have died violently and are seeking retribution. These types of demons are associated with curses. And finally, we have Asmodeus. Side note, this is the worst acted out character on Supernatural. His accent was atrocious. He's like, I am Asmodeus.
It's nice to meet you.
I'm Asmodeus.
All I could think of was Colonel Sanders.
I know, 100%.
He was
even
very
wore a
Colonel
white
Sanders.
suit.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh my
very
God.
Colonel Sanders.
I don't know why he had that
That was
accent.
weird.
Because he's on iZombie as a character, and he does not
Oh, yeah.
speak like
it was
that.
a choice.
Right, it was a choice. Anywho, Asmodeus is an extremely powerful demon who exploits weaknesses and uses that information to torture you.
Oh.
Sounds a lot like our friends named the Asteri.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are the 7 demon types.
Wow.
Who knew? Or categories, I guess.
So I'm thinking about Buffy because I've been watching Buffy. So would vampires be that pistachio?
Pishacha?
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce
I
it.
can't remember what.
You know, I think they technically would be.
Because they feed on human flesh.
And they have the distorted faces.
in Buffy, they have the distorted faces.
Right, so but I would say in this world, in the Sarah J. Maas world,
Sure.
vampires and demons aren't the same thing.
Right.
Right, they're not a form of a demon.
Although vampires were from hell originally.
That's true.
But in the Buffy world, vampires are demons.
Yeah, it's like a demon.
Right, so they
in
would
your
be
a soul.
And this is from Indian folklore, the Pishacha.
Sorry,
So
I said I'm making you say
messed me up.
pistachio.
So again, if we have a listener that can tell us how to pronounce that, I would really love that because I know I'm
Right.
butchering it somehow. But I never thought about vampires being that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Makes sense.
It's just because I'm watching Buffy.
All right, finally.
Well, thank you so much, Deb.
Now you can have nightmares about that.
Yeah, I will. I probably will.
Let's change to spicy
Yeah,
scenes.
let's talk about favorite spicy scenes. Mindy, what was your favorite spicy scene?
Well, I mean, there really was not much to choose from. Again,
There were 2.
Yeah.
well, okay. But
50-50.
so the Bryson Hunt scene, but especially when he sees her red thong and he starts to go down on her and he says, "Damn, Quinlan, God's damn."
Okay, I have a question though that is going to ruin that for you.
Oh, goody.
Why did Morven have packages of red thongs in his castle?
I know, right?
Why?
Yeah, I didn't like that.
And why was she like, I'm just going to put one on?
Well,
Like,
it was in a package. So,
I
you
was
know.
going to say, I imagined that it
but
was packaged.
If she's in
So
Morven's castle and she sees there's like 5 packages of those there, wouldn't you go, ooh, what the fuck is he using those for?
Well, probably for his like prostitutes.
Still,
I feel like he's so patriarchal that it's just expected that women would be wearing something
pretty underwear.
Yeah,
right.
Something
but you
pretty.
would think Bryce would retaliate against that.
I know.
It seemed a little out of character for me.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I think what we're intended to take from that is that she was like, I'm definitely going to want these later with Hunt. But I agree that I
Right.
think it's weird.
Well, that wasn't personally, I don't like thongs because I don't want anything on my butt crack. But that's just me. That's a personal
And
problem.
around the corner.
But so that wasn't even I just loved what he said.
the way that Hunt works with it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But I have to follow that up with Hunt going commando because all the underwear on the depth charger were too small for his junk. It's fucking amazing.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
I did
It just
enjoy
like
that.
springs out. It's like, and she's like commando, huh? And he's like, oh, those underwear were too small for all of this.
I did enjoy that a lot. Shockingly, I did not choose Bryson Hunt for my favorite spicy scene.
Did you
not
pick
shocked.
Lidia and
I
Rune?
picked Lidia and Rune, and I wrote in my notes, they are so hot, I can't stand it.
You didn't say they were hot.
No, not hot, just regular old hot. I really loved it when Lidia was thinking after they finished making love.
Finished.
They
They were not making love, Whitney.
Well,
Having-
but they were
fucking.
because she was thinking afterwards that she had never felt so cherished, and I thought she's probably never felt cherished a single day in her life,
Probably
not
not.
by anybody,
Right. Well,
I
and
thought that was
Pollux
really
wasn't there
sweet.
for her, right?
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't have a parent that was there for her. She was estranged from her sister. For
Even the father of her kids was right.
Yeah, some random stranger, right? So I thought that was really sweet. I love that for her, feeling cherished. And Rune thinking that they belong to each other. And the quote from the book is, there was a word for it, but it eluded him. And I'm like, mates. I'm like, you're mates. And this led me to a question also. So the mate bond, I'm assuming that the word that he was thinking that it couldn't quite think of was mate, right? Belonging to each other. So that mate bond is also a little muted compared to the other books. Like we talked about book 2 with Bryson Hunt. But I wonder if Sarah J. Maas made their mating bond more muted purposefully because of the parasite in the water muting their power.
Oh,
interesting.
And I didn't think about that until this section.
That would make so much sense.
And I'm like, I wonder if that's why. Because at that point, we didn't know about the parasite in the water.
In my
You know?
recap, I said everyone fucks. Can you imagine what it's going to be like when they all have full power?
When they have the antidote.
Especially because every time Bryce fucks Hunt, she's like taking in his lightning.
and he takes them
Right?
hers, yeah.
And like the room's filled with starlight, they're going to
Right.
like explode the planet.
Exactly. But I mean, especially with Bryce and Hunt, they're exchanging power basically, but their power is not full power
You know
because of the
how
parasite.
on Monsters Inc. when the kids laugh like the electricity explodes? When all these fae have their full power and they start fucking, it's just going to be lights exploding everywhere.
So anyway, that's a theory. That's my new theory about the May bond and why it is
I think
why
that's
it's
a great
different.
theory because you know
Yeah,
that's
me too.
always really bothered me.
Right, but that makes sense to me. Why?
It does.
Because their power is different. Because none of the other worlds have this parasite
Well,
issue.
if their
you
power
know?
is different, their instincts are going to be dulled too.
Exactly. So
Because even Hunt then is like, you're an ancient enemy. I must kill you.
Well, the mating bond is magic too. I mean,
Right,
essentially,
right.
to its core. So,
that's, that's my new canon. I've decided that that's the
I
truth.
thought you were about to say it's your new kink.
That's my new kink. Stifled magical powers.
She's like, no, Robbie, you only get a partial erection at this point. You're Fae, but your powers are diluted.
He would be like, I'm not doing this.
He'd be like, wake me up when you read a different chapter.
Yeah, like I don't read a contemporary.
Tessa Bailey.
Yeah, read a contemporary.
Brian and
romance.
Darren would be like, okay, sure.
Sounds great.
How long do I have to do this?
Well, let's talk about our chapter MVPs. Deb, who was yours?
You already brought this up, but Connor and the Pack of Devils, one of you did.
Oh, I love that.
Connor literally packs everyone's second light together and gives it to Ethan in bullet form to help them defeat the Asteri. He reminds me so much of Bryce here, always thinking 2 steps ahead.
Yeah.
And he also gives Ethan some much needed closure because hopefully Ethan's going to be less whiny after this.
I would hope so.
Right? But I'm hoping that was the closure he needed because Connor even said, he's like, no, don't go. You can't give me your second light. And he's like, buddy, I've already been gone.
Right.
Yes.
For like, a year and a half, 2 years at this point.
Right.
So Connor really coming in and saving the day and being like, you know what? We're all dead anyway. Give me your second light because he's going to eat it or we could use it for good.
Exactly.
Right. And so I like to imagine that maybe Bryce had started that idea with him since she knew about the second light.
Yeah. And now Ethan just has to take the bullet, get it to Bryce.
Right.
Which he doesn't seem to be doing a very good job of.
No, he's like, Sigrid, stop whining.
Maybe
dude.
Sigrid can help me. Like, no, just let it go.
One of my questions I do have, and it comes up more than once, is why does he feel like Perry's antidote already faded?
I was asking the same question.
That's one of my
too.
questions too.
Right.
Yeah.
That is
feel
brought up
like
too many times for that not to be important.
Yes, 100%.
What it feels like to me is that it just doesn't sit well with me. Like she's a robot or someone shifted to look like her or it's not really her.
There's something off.
There's something off there.
Because
I
my
didn't even
first thought
think
was
about that.
she's tricking him in some way.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what scares me.
Because everyone else left, why would she stay?
Yeah.
She doesn't want to stay just to see if he came back.
I was going to say that Sarah J. Maas is trying to get us to see a connection between the two of them. But I'm wondering if that's a
There's
red
something
herring.
off
Right.
Like
there.
it's not a romance.
Yeah.
It's something,
Right. Something else.
something sinister or something like that.
Or
Yeah,
like
I don't-
Sabine went into her. Or
Yeah.
something.
Like I don't
Ooh,
fully
yeah.
trust it.
Well, here's the thing. This is way off topic. Could Sigrid, since she sucked out Sabine's soul, put it in someone else?
I don't know.
Because that would make more sense why Perry's sticking around and shit.
I don't know. I don't know what happens.
There's something up there.
There's something there.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Don't be a bad guy, Perry.
I know.
You are so sweet.
Ethan annoys me in this book, but I still like him. I don't want bad
don't
things.
kill him.
I don't want bad things to
Right.
happen to him.
Right.
Mindy, who is your chapter MVP?
Mine was Bryce. I just love, and for all the reasons that Deb had said earlier about using the mask to animate the souls of the fallen, using their wings, putting them in the mech suits, like that whole line of thinking is just brilliant.
Can you imagine how terrifying it would be, though, to just see a bunch of wings flying above you?
Disembodied
You're like,
wings.
oh, God, there's no angels attached to them. Where did those come from?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that.
But just figuring that all out and the planning and the thinking and the forward thinking that had to go into that.
The strategery.
Like finally, and again, we've been saying for all of these episodes that, she's definitely smarter than she makes people think
Oh,
she
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But like, this is what it is. Like, this is the core of it where like she stops being, a typical,
Yes.
Gets, and really like, this is her true strength.
I like
Who
the
she is,
closure
yeah.
too behind her getting those wings out of there. I think it
Yes.
provides some closure for the reader because all 3 books, it's like they cut off their wings,
Yeah.
because it's like the worst thing you can do to someone that
Right.
can fly. And so I think it just for the reader, you're like, oh, they're gonna like go fulfill their destiny, right?
Yeah, that is a nice moment. I had a hard time choosing between Bryce for the same reason that you were just saying, Mindy, using the mask in such a smart way, and also Hypaxia for killing the Underking and putting an end to the gross like second light feasting. I just declared it a tie. They're both my chapter.
She
MVP.
definitely like stepped into that role and was like, all right, this is how it's going to be.
Hypaxia.
And- yeah.
yeah.
Well,
she
she's my
definitely
favorite
does.
secondary character for
Yeah.
all those same reasons, but mostly because when Jezebel gets all mouthy, she's like, fine, you're my second in command, asshole.
Yeah.
She's like, you want to tell me what to do and you're going to do all this? Fine. You're going to pick up part of the work. I loved that.
Yeah.
And it even says she declared it in a flat voice. 'Cause
Yes.
Jezebel can't tell her no.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And so, but then Jezebel was like, okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
I did not plan this at all.
That's funny. Your favorite secondary character was my favorite, or my chapter MVP, because my favorite secondary character was your chapter MVP.
Mine too.
Connor and
Yeah,
the
mine
Souls.
too.
Yeah. For all the same things that you already said.
Well, and just in general, because they sacrifice themselves,
Yeah.
like essentially, all of those souls were sacrificed for the
'Cause
greater good.
They weren't alive, but they were existing,
Yes.
right? Like they
Yes.
were in an existence that I would in this kind of supernatural, paranormal, whatever, people aren't always ready to let that go. Right. That's why you have like ghost stories. People aren't ready to let go completely of their existence. That's not a small thing, I feel like, for a soul to do.
My question would be, are the mists around the Bone Quarter, are they actually mists like around Avalon, or is it something the Underking was doing? Like, what's going to happen to that space now?
Yeah.
Because no one's going there.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to have to be repurposed.
I still
for something.
think it's a thin space, though. I think it's how they're going to travel.
Every time you say thin space, I think of Outlander. Every single time.
Yeah, a thin place. Yeah, one thing too that I really enjoyed about the scene with Connor is that it was so focused on Connor and Ethan.
Yes.
And that sibling relationship, and not on tell Bryce I still love her.
Right.
I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
And I felt that same way. I think we talked about it when we were talking about the first Crescent City book at the end, with that little moment with Bryce where she sees like Connor waving off in the distance in the Bone Corner, but it's not a focus. The focus of that book is so much on the platonic love between Bryce and Danica. And I appreciate that they kept it that way with Connor in book 3. I really love that.
It would really suck for it to be like, well, then Connor to be like, then she found her mate.
I know.
He wouldn't feel like a strong character.
No. Yes.
Because
I really like that.
He might have been like in love with her, but they weren't in love.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They had just started their romantic relationship.
For sure. Yeah. Well, what were your favorite quotes? I'm interested to hear what you guys picked, because there were lots of like sweet moments. There were lots of like gut wrenching quotes. I'm interested to hear.
How
what
many
you guys
do you
picked.
all have?
I only have 2, but they're both
3.
from Jessica.
I have 3, and they're all really short.
What are yours, Mindy? You go first.
So mine are both from Jessica. I loved when she says, you could take some lessons from Quinlan about thinking 2 steps ahead. I don't even remember who she was talking to. But
Ethan.
Yeah. 100% Ethan could definitely take some lessons. But I just thought that was funny. And then later, again, I don't know why I didn't write who this was to, but she said, well, that's one way to shut the old wind back up. Oh, I think it's when Hypaxia kills the Underking.
Yeah.
Well, that's one way to shut the old wind back up. I just love her.
She is really funny.
What were your Jessica ones, Whit?
I didn't have any Jezebel ones.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said they were all Jessica.
No, they're just short.
Oh, okay.
So when Rune and Lidia are talking about her boys and giving them up, and she says, well, a real or a true mother would have blah blah blah, and he says, you are a true mother. And I thought that was really sweet.
I highlighted that too,
because he's right. And then this one was a gut-wrenching one to me, when Hunt was like absolutely losing it to Celestina about how she was a horrible person to them, and he said, you were supposed to be good. Because that's like, that betrayal of her hurt him so much more than all these other things that you would assume would hurt him more. It was that betrayal.
He wanted to find one archangel that wasn't evil.
He thought,
and she does redeem herself, I feel like.
Yeah, she's doing something good right now.
She's trying.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a step in the right direction.
For right now.
Yeah, we'll see.
We don't know.
We'll see. And then the last one just made me laugh when Bryce opens the portal for the Princess of Hell to come in. Adis walks through and she says, welcome back to Midgard. I hope you have a pleasant stay. That made me laugh.
That was funny.
That was one of mine too, Whitney. And then my second one was, just cut her up real small and shove her down the garbage disposal. And this was Ethan wondering what Bryce would do with Sabine's body.
He was imagining what she would say.
Like, what am I going to do with her body? And just cut her up real small and shove her down the garbage disposal. And that might be, that lends to that whole Perry theory. Like, her body's still there. So
that's true.
I don't know. It's weird again that was brought up too.
Yeah, it's all weird.
Come on, Perry, don't fuck this
like
up.
it. Well, I know we've been talking about questions throughout, but are there any other questions we've not mentioned yet?
I have one more that I'm hoping you can answer, Whit.
Uh-oh.
How is Thea's star holding the mask at bay? That comes up more than once, because you remember earlier in the book, Nesta has trouble taking it off, right? And Bryce, at one point, it tries to separate from her, and she says, no, I command you. And then at another point, it says, I could feel Thea's star holding the mask at bay from like taking over. Mm-hmm. Is that I don't know, or
that's actually that was one of my questions also, because at first I was thinking that Thea's power was able to do that because of its connection to the cauldron and to Prithian, but that doesn't make any sense because Nesta's power is connected to the cauldron and Prithian too.
It's the whole like calls to like thing.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I guess I just feel like because they create. Who did create the Dread Trove? The Asteri?
The Asteri.
Okay, so never mind. That throws my theory out
Yeah,
there.
Thea made the Star Sword and the Truth Teller dagger.
Well,
but
maybe
the
it's just
Asteri made the
because
Trove.
Thea's power is just that much greater.
That's kind of where I'm landing at this point, is that she is just that much more powerful than Nesta is, and therefore is able to control the mask better, I guess. But I don't really know.
Well, I mean, more than once, even someone says to her at some point, "Oh, it's Regulus." He's like, "Take that off because it curses your soul."
Oh, yeah.
And so then that's when she says that she notices that, like, she's like, no, it won't, because Thea's power is holding it at bay.
Right.
I just feel like there has to be more there to that.
Yeah,
I think you're probably right.
I'm not really sure, but I feel like I should know at this point. You know what I mean?
That's what I felt like too, Whitney.
I feel like I missed something in the explanation.
Well, if you missed it, it means it hasn't been explained yet.
Exactly.
Well,
that's how I feel.
That's kind of you to say. One of my questions was what we were talking about with Perry, but also bigger than just the mystery of Perry, I'm wondering if the next, because Sarah J. Maas has said that she's going to write more books in the Crescent City world, just not focused on Bryson Hunt, right? And I am wondering if the book would focus on Ethan and Perry and or Tharian and Sathya.
I feel like she has set up, because we haven't talked about, we haven't had the
Sathya
House of Water or whatever. We haven't done that yet.
Right. Well, and Sathya just like completely pieced out, which made me feel so bad.
Which we've not even really brought up, because that guy that was the Viper Queen's like lackey was her ordeal. And it sounds like he was like the love of her life or something to me.
Yeah.
And
I wonder if they're mates or if they were just in love.
I feel like Tharian really was like connecting with her.
I know.
One of the quotes I almost picked as a favorite quote was a gut-wrenching one where he finds her note that she's leaving, and it says that he can't stop thinking about her when he leaves. And I'm just like, oh, poor Tharian. Like, he just can't catch a break. But I'm just wondering if they're going to be if those four characters might be the focus of the next
definitely see a
book.
love triangle between Tharian
Oh, yeah.
and
Me too.
Sathya.
Can I also point out, though, props to the River Queen, because whenever the princess shows up and she's like, you married her, and he's like, I'll divorce her and marry you as soon as it's over. And the River Queen's like, no, you won't.
no.
Yeah.
That's not good enough for my daughter.
Yeah.
Right.
I loved that she
that
was like,
awesome.
yeah, fuck you. And then, I mean, that obviously, though, probably made it easier for Sathya to leave if she was so disposable.
Well, maybe not necessarily feeling like she's disposable, but knowing that he's not going to be imprisoned in the river with the River Queen if she leaves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. The only other question that I had is going back to one of our least favorite moments with Rune shooting Lidia. Are we supposed to feel sympathetic to him, do you think? Like, from Sarah J. Maas's perspective?
I don't think so.
Are we supposed to feel female ragey? Are we supposed to feel like we have been feeling with Ethan and Tharian?
I'm not sure how we're supposed to feel, but
You know
I
what I
feel
mean?
female ragey.
Yeah.
That's how I feel too. But I'm just wondering what her intent as the writer was, right? Like, does she want us to feel sympathetic to his line of thinking? Does she want us to be mad in Lydia's perspective? Does she think that we're going to look at that the way that we've been looking at Tharian and Ethan, of like, you silly, stupid, sexy boy?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
We're talking about SJM here. She doesn't give a fuck. She's like, I'm going to gut wrench you.
Well, yeah, but
it is 100% because she knows it will.
you don't
piss
think
us off.
she has a certain experience that she would like her readers to have?
I feel like you're supposed to be upset for Lidia.
You think so?
I mean, yes, but I think honestly, the reaction she wants is for you to be pissed off in general.
Well, then
that this is happening. So I mean, yes.
You know
Okay.
me, I prefer female rage.
Right.
Yeah.
Mindy, did you have any other questions?
The only other one I had was because it was such a quick sort of brush off moment. He talks about with the Underking that Ethan's ancestors actually weren't really technically shifters back then.
Mm-hmm.
And so what were they, and what were the Underking's people? Of course, we talked about they're probably Barrow Whites.
The shifters were Fae. That was part of Danica's research.
But what kind of Fae? I guess I
Shifter
feel like
Fae.
But I mean, the way that he talked about it is like they weren't really shifters. So there was something else there. Like they became shifters
It was
Eventually.
double magic. So if we're assuming that the Underking is from Throne of Glass World,
Okay.
it's the type of fae that Rowan is.
Okay.
Because
hot
Rowan, well, yeah, but
Okay,
he's
that
able
makes
to turn.
sense.
He and Fenris, like they're able to turn into animals, but they're
Okay.
not just shifters. They're also fae.
So it's the
You know
whole
what I
thing
mean?
where he talks about how they bred them to be like this. Okay.
Yeah, because he.
I
Also
guess I just
has-
like didn't make that
Oh,
connection.
there was that whole selective breeding thing to make them
yeah,
more
yeah. I
powerful.
didn't make that
Right.
connection.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because she doesn't specifically mention in that scene, like, remember Danica's research, but I think that's what she wants us to
Gotcha.
think.
that makes
but-
sense.
Yeah, I think
After 900 pages, that could have been a parentheses.
or an asterisk and a footnote
Like,
or something.
Help me out here, SJM.
For real. So, what are you guys looking forward to? We only have one episode left.
Can I get an answer to all these questions?
Yes, please.
That was my only thing I'm
me
looking
too.
forward to.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It'd be lovely.
I am looking forward. The only specific thing that I said is Rune redeeming himself to me as an individual reader, because I mean, shooting Lidia for going after her kids. I mean, good Lord.
I don't feel like he's going to.
We'll see.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking forward to. But
I've
we'll see
read
if it
this.
happens.
I don't remember what happens, but I do remember still wanting to fuck him at the end. So he must do something right.
I was gonna say I don't remember like being mad at him at the end of the book.
Right,
but,
right.
You know,
Right.
a lot of stuff happens, so who knows? I don't remember. I don't remember much about the last little bit. So it's gonna be an exciting ride. Is there anything else you guys wanted to make sure we chatted about?
That's it for me.
Well, you guys, there is one episode left in our discussion of House of Flame and Shadow. Next week, we're going to talk about chapters 90 through 102, the end of the book.
I'm sure not much will happen.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Yeah,
It'll be a
nothing at all.
real short episode. It'll be great. Bye.
Bye, everyone.